Gina?
Yes.
Hi there. Looks like we're waiting for a couple still.
I show everyone is present minus Mr. Grable, which we already knew was not going to participate today.
Okay. And it is 1:31, so I'll go ahead and call the meeting of the Board of Public Utilities for the City of Santa Rosa to order. We may have a roll call, please.
Chairman Galvin.
Here.
Vice Chair Anoni.
Here.
Board Member Badenfort.
Here.
Board Member Grable. Board Member Mullen.
Here.
Board Member Watts.
Here.
Board Member Wright.
Here.
Good afternoon, everyone. First item is statements of abstention by board members. Do we have any? Hearing none. We have minutes from May 7 and May 21. Those will be approved and entered. We'll move now to, I forgot to remind you all, please mute your phones or microphones when you're not speaking, and please make sure your cell phones and personal computers are put away. And now we'll move to staff briefing. Director Burke.
Thank you, Chair Galvin and members of the board. The first staff briefing will be on our Green Exchange program, modifications that we are making to that rebate program. And Claire Nordley.
Excuse me, Director. Excuse me, Director. I'm sorry. I guess I was supposed to ask for public comments on the approval of the minutes. So if there's anybody that wishes to comment on the telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. Secretary Perez, do we have anyone?
I do not see any members of the public wishing to speak.
Thank you. So those minutes will be approved. Now we can move to 5-1. Sorry.
No problem. Thank you, Chair Galvin and members of the board. So our first staff briefing will be a staff briefing on our Green Exchange rebate program modifications, and Claire Nordley, Sustainability Coordinator, Water Use Efficiency, will be making the presentation.
Good afternoon, Chair Galvin and members of the board. Thank you, Roberta. I'm Claire Nordley, Sustainability Coordinator in the Water Use Efficiency section. Today, I'll be discussing modifications to the Green Exchange program needed to increase participation and better align ourselves with up-to-date water management practices. Slide 2, please. The Green Exchange program is comprised of 2 rebate programs, the Irrigation Efficiency Rebate and the Cash for Grass Rebate. The 5 program modifications that I'll be speaking about today are only for the Cash for Grass rebate program. Since program inception 13 years ago, the Cash for Grass program has resulted in removing over 3.4 million square feet of turf. This removed turf has resulted in saving Santa Rosa over 117 acre feet of water annually. Slide 3, please. This graph shows the total residential and commercial square feet removed in Santa Rosa due to the Cash for Grass program. As you can see, the drought from 2014 to 2016 caused a large rise in the number of rebates processed. However, from 2017 on, we have a sharp decrease in participation. We think this is due to multiple factors, including drought fatigue, the low rebate dollar amount offered, and decreased advertising. New rebate offerings are needed to reinvigorate the program and increase participation. Slide 4, please. The 5 program modifications include 1, increasing the square footage eligible for the rebate, 2, allowing annual participation for dedicated irrigation meters, 3, increasing the rebate dollar amount, which would still be done within the existing annual budget allocation, 4, new plant density requirements, and 5, prohibiting rubber mulch as a turf replacement. And I'll go over each one of these individually in the following slides. And then the landscapers and the property managers that we've spoken to about these changes have all expressed that the changes would be helpful in incentivizing their participation. Slide 5, please. The first program modification is to increase the square footage eligible for the rebate. This will incentivize customers to remove additional lawn and take on larger projects, increasing water savings. The current rebate is capped at 500 square feet for residential customers and 5,000 for commercial customers. Both of these eligible amounts would double to 1,000 square feet and 10,000 square feet, respectively. Slide 6, please. The second program change would allow customers with dedicated irrigation meters to participate annually in the program. Currently, all customers are only able to participate in the rebate program to the maximum dollar amount for the life of the account. This change would allow all dedicated irrigation meters, which often have large landscaped areas associated with them, to remove more turf and achieve additional water savings. Slide 7, please. The third program modification is to increase the rebate amount issued to customers. Currently, we offer 50 cents per square foot of lawn removed. The wholesale cost of water from Sonoma Water has increased, so we can safely increase the rebate amount offered to our customers to 75 cents per square foot and still offer a cost-effective program. I'll talk about more of that in the next slide. Also to note on this slide, the increase in rebate amount will occur within the existing budget cap allocated for the program. We're not requesting additional budget for this or for any of the other program modifications. If the budget cap for the fiscal year is reached through anticipated increased participation, staff will stop accepting applications until the program is replenished in the next fiscal year. Slide 8, please. This slide highlights the cost effectiveness of several water use efficiency rebates that the city offers. For example, as you can see on the far left, the gray water rebate program costs about $320 per acre foot, much below the cost of water purchased from Sonoma Water at $918 per square foot. As you can see on the striped column, which is sort of on the right-hand side of the graph, that's the cash for grass modified rebate amount at 75 cents per square foot. The cost of this rebate is still below the cost of water that we purchased from Sonoma Water, making this a cost-effective program. Slide 9, please. Our fourth modification for the Green Exchange program is to require 50% plant density at plant maturity. This requirement is consistent with existing city code, which states that crushed rock, pebbles, stone, and similar material shall be allowed up to 15% of the total required landscape area. Also, adding a plant density requirement to the cash for grass rebate will bring Santa Rosa into the norm with the majority of the other water agencies that require a plant density. Requiring a plant density makes the site more beautiful, which incentivizes additional customers to participate in the program. And without a plant density requirement, people could take out their lawn and replace 100% of the area with materials like concrete or mulch or rock, detracting from the environmental and regulatory benefits of the program by increasing impermeable surfaces and stormwater runoff. Slide 10, please. The last program modification is to prohibit rubber mulch. Rubber mulch burns at a high temperature of over 630 degrees Fahrenheit and causes high flame height, increasing the risk of fire to surrounding areas. To reduce fire risk, we recommend prohibiting customers from utilizing our rebate to purchase rubber mulch. Slide 11, please. Well, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Ms. Nordley. Any board questions? Board Member Mullen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With respect to the proposed changes, I just have a couple of questions. Is number one, the recommended increase from 50 cents to 75 per square foot, is that based on some survey data that we've done of other jurisdictions or some other factors?
The reason why we increased it to 75 cents?
Yes.
Well, we decided we wanted to be able to offer the maximum amount of rebate to our customers without going over the cost that we would charge or that we would receive from Sonoma Water, making sure that it was still cost effective. Many water utilities are somewhere between 50 cents and $1, so we're really staying within the norm of the industry as well.
Okay. Thank you. And then secondly is the 1,000 square foot limit that we're recommending, doubling up from the 500. Is there a provision in what we're recommending to allow, there's still some properties in the city that are large lots compared to some of the newer stuff that still may exceed the 1,000 square foot limit. And so is there any provision being recommended that would give them the opportunity to come in and make like a special request or an appeal for something above the 1,000 square foot? I can't imagine there would be a lot, but it certainly would provide an incentive, because I mean, 75 cents a square foot is 75 cents a square foot. So if someone exceeded the 1,000 and came in and had a plan that would meet all the criteria, but it was, for instance, 1,250 square feet, is there any provision that would allow them to come in and make a request for consideration above the limit?
At this point, we don't have a provision like that. We could certainly discuss it if we wanted to increase the limit. But at this point, 1,000 square feet feels, well, it's doubling from our current program offerings. And so it's certainly increasing to a certain amount. We've also found with our current rebate program that customers often remove additional lawn beyond what they're being rebated for. So we feel like it's a fair recommendation to provide a rebate for 1,000 square feet, and they could certainly take out more, but we don't have a current rebate program that would go over that amount.
Okay, thank you. That concludes my questions.
Thank you.
Any other board member questions? None. I will open it up for public comments on item 5.1. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your right hand, or your left hand, or both hands. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. Do we have any public comments?
I see no public comment for this agenda item.
Very good. That'll take care of item 5.1. We'll now move to item 5.2, water supply and recycled water supply update.
Thank you, Chair Galvin. Our second staff briefing will be a water supply update by Deputy Director Water Resources Peter Martin, followed by a recycled water supply update by Deputy Director Regional Operations Joe Schwal. So, Peter.
Good afternoon, Chair Galvin and members of the board. So I'll be giving you a brief update on the water supply conditions for the region and some of the efforts too that just building on what you just heard from Claire, the department's doing for customer engagement and encouraging water use efficiency throughout the summer. Slide 2, please. So this year, of course, was very dry with measurable rain at the Ukiah rain gauge being the third driest on record, with record keeping dating back to 126 years. The rainfall totals for the water year are currently at about 40% of average. So definitely a very dry year in the upper watershed. These dry conditions, I think as we spoke last time, kind of triggered reduced transfers in from the Potter Valley project. PG&E was allowed to reduce their FERC mandated water releases from the project due to critical levels being projected in Lake Pillsbury. So since the last time we spoke with you and provided you with an update, Sonoma Water Agency filed their temporary urgency change petition to the State Water Resources Control Board on June 8th. If approved, it would allow that for Sonoma Water to reduce flows in the upper Russian River to 50 CFS. This is for the reach from Lake Mendocino to the Dry Creek confluence. And then also the lower Russian River minimum flows would be 60 CFS. This is from the Dry Creek confluence to the Pacific Ocean. So Sonoma Water will be also requesting that the State Water Board also approve target water supply storage levels for Lake Mendocino. And if storage drops 1% or more below these storage levels, minimum in-stream flows on the upper Russian River could be reduced even further to 40 CFS in the upper Russian River and 50 CFS in the lower. So obviously the goal with the reduced water flows is to preserve water supply to meet the necessary releases to support the fall migration of endangered fish in the Russian River. I do want to note that it is July 2nd today, and we have yet to hear the State Board has approved these changes proposed by Sonoma Water. So even though they have proposed making these changes on July 1st, have not been enacted at this time. Slide 3, please. So as you can see here, this is kind of the reservoir levels on June 15th, which is the last time I had an updated figure from Sonoma Water. At that time, water supply levels were at 75% of the target water supply curve, as indicated by the bold black line on that graph. As you can see, the supply curve got kind of an early boost from the forecast informed reservoir operations when compared to 2015, which is the purple line. I did take a look at the water supply today. Lake Mendocino is now actually sitting at 71% of the target water supply curve, and outflows are currently set at 150 CFS. Slide 4, please. So on June 15th, Lake Sonoma was at 85% of their target water supply curve. And then today, they're currently sitting at about 83% of the target water supply curve, with releases currently set at a little less than 100 CFS. Slide 5, please. So I just kind of wanted to give you an update as we go into summer on some interesting statistics that we're seeing in our water supply planning side of things. This is kind of an interesting graphic in that you can see that since 1990, our population has increased by 55%. Meanwhile, gallons per capita per day has decreased by 51%. So at the same time that we've experienced this population growth, our total water production has gone down by a total of 24% overall. This is sort of a testament to the dedication of the city to water use efficiency and also our customer base, and also the investment by Santa Rosa Water, not only in that customer water use efficiency, but infrastructure improvements, ensuring water system efficiency overall. Slide 6, please. So, you know, we're now into the heat of summer here, and Sonoma Marin Water Saving Partnership has launched their summer water conservation media campaign. So you'll start seeing some of that come rolling out if you haven't already. That includes broadcast radio spots and digital media placements for both audio, video, and still ads. The broadcast radio spots kind of directly reference the connection between saving water and saving money, and directs customers to available rebate incentives of the partnership members. So some of the highlights, I guess, are there's a sprinkler spruce up video that's available on the website. Customer outreach will be ongoing about summer irrigation practices, and then also kind of redirecting customers to the WaterSense branded water fixtures, improvements for irrigation controls, and also drought tolerant landscapes. So some specific advertising will go out with print ads purchased in the Press Democrats Sunday edition. Other digital ad placement will be targeting both Sonoma and Marin counties, as well as broadcast radio ads. Outreach is being done both in Spanish and English in order to reach a wider audience that is representative of our community. Slide 7, please. Also, just internally, the water use efficiency and marketing communication teams are partnering to roll out a significant amount of customer outreach and other tools and information to help direct customers to smart irrigation practices and rebate information this summer. So there, an irrigation strategy workshop is going to be scheduled for Tuesday, July 14th in partnership with the Master Gardeners of Sonoma County, the UC Master Gardeners of Sonoma County. This is going to be hosted via Zoom, and details are available on our city website. Also, I just want to point out that we'll be doing quite a bit of work. This is July and it is Smart Irrigation Month, so quite a bit of outreach will be going on as well. Next week, we'll see some bill inserts going out to customers, directing them to information on irrigation best practices for summer. And then we'll continue to promote this on our social media channels and also some radio spots. New outreach will be created on our website and include info on indoor use, including water smart kits for residential users, water smart yard recommendations. And as you just heard from Claire, we'll also be promoting changes to our new Cash for Grass program incentives and the changes to that. So we tend to also promote these programs in the City Connections newsletter and other outlets as well. So slide 8, I guess, last slide. So as always, you can stay connected via Facebook on facebook.com/srwater or srcity/watersmart Also, you can reach our water use efficiency team at 707-543-3985. This concludes my portion of the presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions, or I don't know if we were going to wait until after Joe's presentation as well.
Why don't we let Deputy Director Schwal do his presentation, and then I'll open it up to board and public comment.
Okay, thank you, Chair Galvin, members of the board. If you go to the next slide, thank you. I am Joe Schwal, the Deputy Director of Regional Operations, here to give you another update on the regional water, recycled water storage situation. So next slide, please. So as a reminder of where we're at, you'll remember the last time I was in front of you, we spoke about the allotment program that had just been implemented. To remind you, that was the allotments were set at about 70% of each customer's recent usage, their last 3 years average. These allotments are calculated based on water that we had in storage, plus the water that we anticipate producing over the next several months. And while allotments are one part of the equation, the supply part, the other part of the equation is the delivery part. And so the timing of usage and the timing of needs to coincide with the timing of supply over the course of the season. And as I mentioned in my last update, we were looking at whether we needed to implement a schedule to take control over and be able to regulate the demand over time. And we did indeed. You'll see from the graph that 2 weeks, after 2 weeks of being on the allotment program, we did not see any real reduction in use or in the drop in our supply. And so we needed to implement a scheduled irrigation season where half of our users were given Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to irrigate, and another half were given Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. I call it the AB schedule. So each customer would have 3 days per week for irrigation. I believe you received an email from Jennifer Burke to notify you of this change to our program when we implemented it. Ongoing, this week we also began receiving water from Sonoma Water at about a 1.5 million gallons per day rate. We anticipate receiving water from them for 50 or 60 days until the 80 million gallons that they say that they have available for us has been transferred. Recently, also, we reduced flow to the geysers steam fields, and that will be with reduced flows for the next 20 days or so, which will save about, or which will store about 70 million gallons in additional supply. So between those two additional supplies and the promise of slower irrigation rates over the next few months, we're anticipating that we'll be able to meet our goals. The Delta Pond is nearly completely drained. So all of the water that had been in Delta Pond has either been irrigated or transferred to other storage basins that we have. The drainage, there's 9 or 10 million gallons left in storage there. That should be finished draining by Sunday or Monday of next week, we anticipate. And at that time, the contractor is scheduled to start mobilizing for the construction work to repair the levee at that spot. I think that'll do it for this slide. And if you go to the next slide, we'll see what the graph is. So what I'm showing here is You're familiar with this graph. Obviously, the red line is our current supply. I've added the projection line. That's the line that I showed you 2 weeks ago of where we were expecting to be, what we were expecting to see from the allocation, the allotment program, and if necessary, our regular or AB schedule for 3-day irrigation. So as you can see, shortly for a few weeks after the allotment schedule was enacted, the graph, the supply level continued to drop fairly quickly, too quickly for comfort. And so this past Monday, we implemented the schedule. And so if you look closely at the very last couple data points, and we are only dealing with about 3 data points since we made the change, but I think you can see there's a bit of an inflection in the curve, and the next week or two will be more telling. But I think we've seen a change in the supply in the storage curve, and that's really where we're at this point. We have about 340 million gallons in storage, and we are anticipating being able to continue irrigating into September. And that you can go to the next slide. So any questions for Peter or me, please?
Thank you, both of your deputy directors. I'll open it up for any board member questions or comments. Board Member Watts.
Hi, I just had a quick question around the first portion of the presentation. I know we have a lot of outreach going on about, water use efficiency, especially for the month of July and so forth. I was just curious if you anticipate any restrictions being required for water usage that might be coming down from the state, or any regional restrictions that we think of that could be coming down.
At this time, we haven't heard that that's the expectation, but obviously it's, I guess, always a possibility. And so we have staff that are prepared, should that happen, to pivot to a stronger message.
Great, thank you.
Other board member questions or comments? Board Member Badenford.
Thank you. We obviously still have just very, I think, tense, short and long-term challenges with our recycled water supply this summer. I appreciate what staff is doing to communicate and to try and extend supply throughout the season. A question on the 3 days a week. Is there any flexibility? I mean, obviously we have ag customers that produce and farm different things and need water at different intervals at different parts of the season, right? For example, we're going to have some that need more water at the beginning of the season and not so much at the end, some more consistently throughout. And so it strikes me that I suspect that the 3 days a week is very difficult for some of our users. And is there any way to build in some flexibility there while still capping the supply at what we need to? I mean, I think that the 70% wasn't ideal, and now we're kind of down to a percentage plus a weekly cap, which it's just so difficult. And so I'm looking for any way to build in some flexibility that some users may need in order to survive the season. Understanding that there's also likely a lot of staff time and communication that would have to happen around that. It's obviously an astonishingly imperfect process at this point. So I'm just curious if there's any way to be flexible in those 3 days a week, whether it's between users or with individual users. I don't know, I'm just trying to think through. Thanks.
Yeah, I think the short answer is yes. I think there is room for flexibility. It's the longer answer is, as you alluded to, it's we have a lot of customers, and we have and they all have very different needs. And so the trick is to how we can balance those needs while we're still transparent and being fair to each of our users. The large users and the small users, the ones who need it early, the ones who need it late. It's a difficult line to walk to be impartial and to be fair across it all. However, having said that, I do think there's room for us to work with individual customers, and we can easily reach out to some who've voiced voice their the difficulties that they're having with the 3-day schedule.
Anything further, Board Member Badenford?
No, that'll do it for now. I'll state again that I am always interested and welcome this coming back throughout the rest of the season. I know that staff is working hard to look at every possible option that is out there. I appreciate that. I think that in our system, there's only so many options, right? There's find more water and send less water. But I do think that many of our ag customers have a long history of not only working with the dynamics of our system, but also working with each other. And so I would hope and suggest that even if maybe we as a board or we as a staff come together and can't see potential solutions throughout the season, it's very likely that they can help with that. So I hope the communication stays open. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Any other board member questions or comments? Seeing no one, I'll now open it up to public comments on item 5.2. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. Secretary Perez, do we have anyone?
I do not see any members of the public wishing to speak.
Thank you. That will close item 5.2.
Chair Galvin, apologies for the interruption. I did just want to let the board know on this item. When we were last in front of the board, I had talked to the board about coming back with a study session to the BPU to give a very thorough overview of our recycled water program and all the various facets of what we have to manage and balance. And in talking with staff and then also recognizing when board members will be available, we will be coming back on August the 6th to bring that full study session to the board. So I just wanted to make sure you are all aware.
Thank you for that update. We'll now move to the consent calendar, items 6.1 through 6.4. The board have any questions on any of these items? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion by Board Member Watts, seconded by Board Member Badenford to approve the consent calendar. We'll now open it up to public comment. We are now taking comments on items 6.1 through 6.4. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you're dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. Secretary Perez, do we have any public comments?
I see no members of the public wishing to speak on the consent calendar.
Thank you. May we do a roll call vote, please?
Chairman Galvin.
Aye.
Vice Chair Anoni.
Aye.
Board Member Badenford.
Aye.
Board Member Mullen.
Aye.
Board Member Watts.
Aye.
Board Member Wright.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. We have no report items. Item number 8 is public comments on non-agenda matters. We'll now take those public comments. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. Secretary Perez, do we have any public comments?
There's no public comment on this item.
Thank you. That'll conclude item number 8. We have no referrals. We have no written communications. Any subcommittee reports? I don't believe we've had any meetings, but just in case. Okay. Any board member reports? Everybody's nodding no or shaking their head no. Director's report.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. Just 2 quick items that I wanted to update the board on. First, wanted to let the board know that after a lengthy 2-day public hearing, the City Council did approve the budget for the city, and wanted to let the board know that the Water Department budget was adopted as recommended by the board. So that did go through. I wanted to again thank the board and especially the budget subcommittee for all of their very hard and long work on helping us put together the budget for this next fiscal year. So thank you again, both to the board and to staff for their great job. Second, I wanted to let the board know about a rather large sustained reduction rebate that we are finalizing. So the board may recall that at your meeting on July 18th of last year, you had approved a unique sustained reduction rebate for Amy's Kitchen and authorized the Water Department and to pay Amy's Kitchen the rebate over 2 payments. The Sustained Reduction Rebate Program, for those that may not be aware, provides rebates for water-saving hardware and or process changes for technologies that we don't have a specific rebate program for, and is based on performance and provides $200 for every 1,000 gallons of average monthly water savings. For the past several years, the water use efficiency staff has partnered with Amy's Kitchen, providing a comprehensive water balance study, data analysis, and program implementation guidance on the installation of a closed loop water cooling system. Ultimately, the total rebate amount for this project was $226,000 and $226,059, which was based on 14 months of post-installation water savings. Again, we brought the first payment to the board and in 2019, and the second payment will be going out to Amy's this month. The project is sustaining water savings of over 1.13 million gallons per month, which is equivalent to more than 40 acre feet per year. And Amy's Kitchen is reporting an impressive 20% reduction in gallons of water per pound of product. So just wanted to let the board know we greatly appreciate your approval of this rebate program in the past, and delegating authority for the director to continue to implement rebates. And as we said in that meeting, we would bring updates to the board when rebates come through this program. So great job by Amy's Kitchen and by the water use efficiency staff. I believe Amy's was actually one of those that we were considering trying to give an award to this year. Unfortunately, with COVID, we were unable to do our water use efficiency awards, but we greatly appreciate their work, and it's just a fabulous achievement and really shows what the city water use efficiency team can do with some of our customers that are willing. So just wanted to let the board know about that, and happy to answer any questions that folks may have.
Thank you. Any board member questions or comments? Seeing none, I will open it up for public comments on item 13. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you're dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. Do we have any public comments, Secretary Perez?
There are no public comments for this item.
Thank you. Assistant City Attorney McLean, if you would announce the closed session, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair Galvin and members of the board. We will be convening the meeting into closed session soon. There are 3 items. I do want to make sure that we provide an opportunity for public comment on any of the closed session items before we do that, but I will announce the 3 items, 14.1 through 14.3. The first is an existing litigation matter, Bush v. Brown Farm, City of Santa Rosa. The second is anticipated litigation. And the third is an existing litigation matter, Fountain Grove 2 Open Space Maintenance Association versus City of Santa Rosa. Be discussing today in closed session.
Thank you. I'll now open it up to public comments on any items in item 14. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you're dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. Secretary Perez, do we have any public comments regarding items 14.1 through 14.3?
I do not see any members of the public wishing to speak on these items.
Thank you. So we'll now move to closed session. I would ask each board member to disconnect from this Zoom and connect via the closed session Zoom information that was provided to you. And at the conclusion of the closed session, we will then come back to this Zoom session for adjournment. So see you all in closed session.
I'm sorry, Chair Galvin, and I just wanted to make sure the public was aware any announcements that come out of closed session. We will be reconvening here to make sure that happens.
Great. Thank you.
Tina, if you're waiting for board member Arnone, he did exit the meeting at approximately 3 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Dan, you can let us know when you're ready to start up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think we're ready. Okay. It is 5 after 3. I'll meeting of the Board of Public Utilities and ask Secretary Perez to do a roll call, please.
Okay, Chairman Galvin.
Here.
Vice Chair Arnone. Board Member Badenfort.
Here.
Board Member Grable. Board Member Mullen.
Here.
Board Member Watts.
Here.
Board Member Wright.
Here. Thank you all for reconvening. At this point, I will ask Assistant City Attorney McLean to report out on our closed session items.
Yes, thank you, Chair Galvin. We did meet on all 3 closed session items, 14.1 through 14.3. There's nothing to report out at this time.
Thank you. And I don't think we need to open it up for any more public comments. So I think we are concluded for today. The meeting is adjourned. Take care, all of you.
Thank you. You too.